Welcome to the Yukon and North 61. Bison hunting once a week. Getting close. No cigar yet, but 358 normal all the way. Going out again on Thursday. It's been a lot of fun. But this time of year, end of January, I'm starting to think about mountain hunting. And I'm starting to think about mountain rifles. And I've played a lot with different mountain rifles. I've pretty much settled on this 30-06 Forbes 24B as a fantastic choice. 5 3/4 pounds, just the rifle. That seems to me to be a sweet spot. Less weight, yeah, you have trouble shooting them. I do anyway. More weight, they're harder to carry. Although I will accept another pound over that. Another pound seems to be okay. A pound less, I start to shoot them not as well. A pound more, I don't seem to shoot them much better, maybe a little bit. But that's the sweet spot, you know, scoped, strapped, cartridges, 7 to 8 pounds. That seems to be a pretty nice weight.
Another point is these guys. This is a laser rangefinder. I can tell within a yard, right out to 1,500 yards, how far away game is. And it even has an angle compensation. So what that has done is created this giant revolution of trajectory. It used to be, if I wanted to get a mountain rifle, I'd get a 7 STW or a 300 rum mag, put a brake on it, put up with the blast and recoil, and just call it a day, because that speed, that ultra speed, was the only way to mitigate trajectory. Now, with a laser rangefinder and either a ballistic reticle or a click system, range is no longer the big deal. The bigger deal is wind drift. And wind drift, you're better off having high BC bullets. That means new life for cartridges like the 30-06. Now that I can mitigate trajectory, 30-06, pretty darn good. Like probably on the low end of trajectory. I wouldn't want to get anything with a more loop trajectory, but it's pretty decent. That it's about the same as a 6.5 Creedmoor. So it's a pretty decent cartridge as long as you can tell how far away something is. Good deal.
The other thing that I really like to have is a minimum of 1,500 foot-pounds at the ranges I'm shooting. Why 1,500 pounds? Well, we can shoot elk here occasionally. You might get a draw for elk. 1,500 pounds is a good number for elk. Also, if you take a look at big mountain caribou, they're as big as an elk. So 1,500 foot-pounds seems to be like a good number. And I like quick, clean kills. So high BC bullets help you hang on to your energy. And I think it's a good way to go, and there's lots of different choices now. So in this 30-06, it's a little short of capacity for a 30 caliber. So when you get up to the 208 grain bullets, it starts getting a little bit slow. You'd be very, very hard pressed to get it to 2,600. With reloader 22, you might make it. 178 grain bullets at 2,800, 2,850 seems like to me to be a sweet spot. And the ballistic coefficient of those is only about about 530. So that's a little low by today's standard. But it allows you to hang on to 1,500 foot-pounds right out to 575 yards. So 575 yards to me is about as far as I would ever want to shoot anything. Probably further. That 530 ballistic coefficient will give you a decent wind drift. But you're better off with more. An example of more is the old 6.5s. So if I take a look at the Creedmoor, shooting 140 grain good bullet, you got about 650, so mid 600s. Now you're really hanging on to energy. And modern cartridge design is really starting to matter. The 30-06 works pretty well. 270 used to be like the cat's pajamas for long range shooting, read Jack O'Connor, but they've got 1 and 10 inch twists. They don't really spin fast enough in that caliber to really stabilize a really like 160 grain bullet. If you put that in it, it wouldn't stabilize that bullet probably if it was a really long bullet with a really great ballistic coefficient. So that's why Hornady put together the 145 grain ELDX. The 145 grain is about as long as you can go, and that gives it a ballistic coefficient also in the low 500s, similar to the 30-06 with the 178 grain. So it's got capacity to drive a heavier bullet faster, but it doesn't have the twist rate to do so. So both of those limit those cartridges. So the 270, you can go up to 570 yards with 1,500 foot-pounds with that 145 grain bullet. You get a little better trajectory, slightly better wind drift than a 30-06, but you can mitigate those two things. So the big advantage that 270 used to have over the 30-06 is gone, except you have a little less recoil. So, what is better than the old standbys? 25-06 is in many ways worse, because that 1 10-inch twist will only stabilize a 120 grain bullet. The best you can get out of that is a ballistic coefficient of 0.480 in the 120 grain Spear BTSP. Now you're down to 1,500 foot-pounds at 440 yards. Let me take a look at the tiny little Creedmoor. I'll show you a shot of that, the two of them together. The 6.5 Creedmoor has much less powder capacity, better barrel life, less blast than the 25-06, similar kick, with a 140 grain bullet going quite a bit slower, 2,700 feet per second, because you've got the ballistic coefficient now of 0.646 with the 140 grain, good 140 grain bullet in the 6.5s. You hang on to 1,500 foot-pounds all the way out to 439 yards, 1 yard less than the 25-06. You get less trajectory, but slightly better wind drift. So, you start getting at long range, you start getting that little 6.5 Creedmoor starts to take over from the great 25-06. It surprised me looking at those numbers. I love the 25-06. I've got a Forbes 24B in 25-06. And I came up to with my own idea that 440 yards was about as far as I could shoot it, and then I found that's the 1,500 pound. And I just noticed that shooting at steel. I was having difficulty knocking down steel. I saw a lot less momentum. The animals I've shot, when you shoot something with a 25-06 at 200 yards, you kill it dead. When you shoot it past 440 yards, you start getting a bit of a, much less effect, because it relies so much on speed, and you start losing that speed with the 480. So the 6.5 I've long thought was a sweet spot of recoil versus ballistic performance. So the 6.5 Rem Mag is something I've loved. I shoot mine, it's a 23-inch Packnor barrel. The traditional 1 and 9-inch twist wasn't very good for the super long bullets today, but I rebarreled it with a 1 and 8 because I shot the barrel out, if you can believe it. And that was a fantastic rifle when I shot everything under 400 yards. It was fantastic with the 20-inch barrel. Now with a 23-inch barrel, I'm getting the same speeds as something called the 6.5 PRC, because it's got very similar capacity. But what I can't do is shoot those super long bullets, because they start going into the ogive because of case design. The 6.5 PRC will shoot every bit as fast as the 6.5 Rem Mag, especially with heavier bullets, because it loads them way out, so you get very similar capacity. And with a 1 and 8-inch twist, it'll shoot those bullets the same speed, 2950, 3,000 feet per second, 140 grain bullet. It's like a 6.5 Creedmoor on steroids, and now you're getting 1,500 foot-pounds right out to way past 600 yards. Let's see, I got it written down here somewhere. Let's see how fast I can be for you guys. It will shoot all the way out to 640 yards, 1,500 foot-pounds, and it'll have less drift and less drop than the 30-06 or the 270, and similar recoil to the 270, and quite a bit less recoil than the 30-06. 7mm Rem Mag kicks like a 30-06 and shoots about as flat as the 6.5 PRC. It does have some advantages. It holds 1,500 foot-pounds with a good 162 grain bullet, ELDM, all the way out to 875 yards, but with a considerably more recoil, and enough recoil that I like mine braked. And brakes are a bit of a problem when you're shooting with a partner. My son doesn't get a chance to get his earplugs in. I don't want to take out his hearing.
Recoil's not going to kill you. But it does make it harder to shoot precisely, especially when you're in a field position in a weird position. Like, I've been in such weird positions shooting in the field where you'd never ever practice it. And the harder the rifle comes back at you, the harder it is to be super precise. So recoil is connected to shootability. It doesn't mean you can't shoot a bigger rifle, but if you can shoot something with less recoil and without a break that damages your hearing, you're better off than with more recoil for precision shooting, I think.
And you can go all the way up to a 300 Win Mag. I have no problem with someone using something so great as a 300 Win Mag or 300 Short Mag. They'll go up past 1,000 yards with a really good ballistic coefficient of 690, like the 208 grain, the LDM. And again, very similar drift and drop to the 6.5 PRC. So the 6.5 PRC's got a similar trajectory, similar wind drift, way less kick, and enough energy for 640 yards. And that's as far as I will ever shoot at anything. So for me, the balance, recoil, ballistic performance, good to be housed in a lightweight firearm, and enough energy to make clean kills. 6.5 PRC, I've got one coming tomorrow, and I'll let you know how it goes.